What's up, friends? How's it going? Welcome to my very, very new show, The Late Night Roast, with me, the Shagsworth. Yeah, you call me Tom. You call me whatever you want. Um, yeah, we're here with a brand new show Tuesday nights. We're gonna start 9:15 Mountain Time. So wherever you are in the world, 9:15 Mountain Time is when we're gonna start every Tuesday night, and we're just gonna talk about stuff solo, one-on-one. Pretend I'm just talking right to you or right at you, whatever you prefer. We are currently live on YouTube and we are live on twitch.tv. So, wherever you may be in the world, if you would be so kind as to come by and hit the follow button or subscribe, it'd be great. I talk right to everyone. And for those who may be listening on other platforms, that is the plan to upload this to other platforms. If I will always try and read chat out, but of course I like to read chat when I can and involve people as we talk through these different topics throughout the evening. I've taken a big interest in culture, politics, and nerdery, if you will, over the past year and a half, much more than I ever have. So I wanted to start commenting on everything, and I've done it a lot with friends. We have our Wednesday night show, the Midweek Hump. My co-hosts Horror Emirata, Sheepsidian, and No Green Rocks are amazing people, and we've had a lot of fun on Wednesday nights. And we're building our audience, and we're doing all the things. But I wanted a chance to do some of my own stuff, so I hope you guys will join me again, whatever platform you may be on. But of course, come on over to YouTube, and of course, catch us live. You get to see me. Tend to interact with chat when I can. But hello, everyone who's here live. Welcome. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight. Of course, we have our hot cup of coffee. This mug says, "See the good." I know it's hard right now to see the good things in the world, but I don't know. The circles that I've been running in recently have been nothing short of amazing. And we're going to get into some of these people tonight, but I've learned to see the good in a lot of what's going on in the world and what's really inside people. It's really easy to focus, especially when you put a lot of time into social media, if you're on Facebook or Twitter or even Instagram to an extent. It's easy to get lost in all of that stuff. And there's so much more beyond it all that I want to make sure that people see it. And my interactions with others around the internet on my shows are proof that we just need to talk. We need to share ideas. And a lot of the stuff that's been going on in mutual communities have been amazing. So see the good. That's my little for now. Lots of stuff in the works, like a lot of the people out there, there's stuff that's happening behind the scenes that I don't want to speak on, but there's a lot of plans for stuff coming in the future, and I hope you guys will all join me in that. Again, we have a nice little active chat tonight. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate everyone listening on different platforms. You guys are great. We need the world's a mess, is it not? Is the world not just like a little bit of a mess? After that little rant of see the good, the world is a bit of a mess. And I don't want to get into like the real juicy stuff right away, but there's a side of fandom that we've all seen recently that's been, for lack of a better word, disappointing. We've talked at length on different shows regarding Star Wars fandom, the Marvel fandom, and how people with criticism, such as myself, a lot of the big YouTubers out there, are immediately labeled in a way that is very unfavorable to us, and just downright unfair, right? We have opinions on things that we grew up and we love, and we are we are told by the actual companies that our criticisms are invalid, but they are also pause right here. Thank you for the raid over on Twitch. Appreciate it. Arcasul, how are we doing? Sorry, yeah, I don't have my alerts up. I'm sorry, but hello, welcome everyone. This is the very first episode of the late night roast with me, the Shagsworth. We are commenting on some stuff right now, getting into the news and whatnot. Welcome everyone over on Twitch, and hello everyone here on YouTube as well. thank you guys. So yeah, it's been quite a that's my Biden moment. It's been quite a trip for those who are who have been in the fandom, right? We have this love for storytelling, and over the past couple of months, we've been told that we are wrong. We are awful people for believing what we believe and having criticisms over certain television shows and how we're not allowed to have them. Otherwise, we're a certain part of the political spectrum, and it's just downright awful and mean. But the funny thing is like over the past couple days, we've seen a very, very successful YouTube creator turn the narrative on its head. Of course, you guys know I'm talking about Eric July, who has finally released all the information and opening up pre-orders for his very first run. That's coming out in August, I believe. But before we really get into his stuff, because it's really, really awesome what he's doing, but the truth of the matter, the truth of what's going on in the like how people really think of the new shows, whether it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new characters, Reva, and all of them, what's really going on. And it was the funniest thing to watch, just because I saw this over the past couple of days or the past week on Twitter, shared a lot. But the Reva replica, the Star Wars, the Black Series Reva, the third sister Force FX Elite lightsaber, the target was 5,000 backers. They only received 1,400. About 1,400 backers. It was not funded, and this said limit 5 per customer. It's just, this is the truth of the matter, right? This is what really the fans that they're talking about. This is how much they support the content that's going out there. We're led to believe that we are awful people, we're racist, we're all that. This is the truth right here. They can't even fund a lightsaber. This replica lightsaber, which I think is trash anyway. I don't like the lightsaber. I've never liked the whole helicopter spinny thing. I just think it looks stupid. But again, what we've seen is we've seen someone who has constantly put out a quality product, who has delivered time and again on his content, and who is just a genuinely good person trying to do good things in comics. And this is the result when you're a genuine person, when you work hard, when you save your money, when you don't take money from outside sources. This is the kind of stuff that happens. With we'll say about what are we at now? 36 hours that this has been running. About 36 hours this has been running. Item number 1 campaign for the Rippaverse, the very, very first thing that we are going to see come out from Eric July. The initial campaign goal of $100,000 has absolutely been blown out of the water, with $1.2 million contributed. $1.2 million. There's still 74 days left in this campaign. These are fans. This is what happens when you run a legitimate brand, you're a good person, and you deliver on your promises. We're not even close to being done. The Rippaverse was trending today on Twitter. We have like the hashtag we will win has been also going around. We will win because this is the kind of support that is going to turn the comics industry on its head. Guys like Eric July are changing the game. They are proving that all you need to do is work hard, put your nose to the grindstone, work hard, and deliver. And what happens? Is you get a lot of people out there who are still the naysayers, right? They're still saying time and time again that what he is doing is wrong. We should somehow question everything that's going on. Why would people possibly contribute this much money and not have any idea what product it is that they're getting? Because what has happened is that Eric July has built a brand over the past decade that was legitimate, that he delivered time and time again. And this is the result of the hard work. He didn't take other people's money. There was nothing he could do. Everything's made, created, ready to go. Now it's time to ship. And I don't know Eric. I know Eric from the stuff that I see online, the stuff I follow. Don't line up on everything that he talks about, but I support this man's hard work. And the people online are still coming out and trying to make it as if he's done something wrong or his business is illegitimate. Forum threads have been taken down. So here's something I was looking at today. Maybe I'll pull it up for you. Tyler D. Erden shared, this isn't my image, found it on Reddit, but they are terrified of what you're creating, man. Keep doing what you're doing. So it's a picture, for those who can't see, it's a picture of someone posting Eric D. July's Rippaverse promo trailer on the comic books subreddit, and it was taken down. So the subreddit message was sent, and it said, "You broke rule number 1 as pertaining to supporting comics from hate groups." And this person, so you have been permanently banned from participating in the comic book subreddit. You can still view and subscribe to comic books, but you won't be able to post or comment. You guys understand how insane this is? Do you understand what's happening? People need to start paying attention to what's going on. They don't want, these are the people who claim to be at the forefront of racism and equality and diversity and equity and inclusion, right? These are people who are supposed to be right there in the front fighting for justice. And this is the stuff that they support. This is and the thing is, and what people don't understand is that Eric July, his blackness has nothing to do with his success, right? He doesn't use that as a way to be like, hey, because I'm this, will you buy this? This has never been his mantra. The man works hard, dedicates his time and effort to bringing people a quality product. This is 100% about good storytelling. If you think for 1 second that Eric July wants to do anything more, his actual goal here is to tell a great, compelling story outside of established universes, correct? That is what Eric is trying to do. I don't even know him personally, but I can tell you from every minute that I've watched him do this is what he's trying to do. Good original stories. When you talk about flipping this on its head, when you talk about flipping the narrative on its head and changing how things are done, this is how you do it. You don't buy Marvel products, you don't buy DC products, and you make your own. and you start your own company. You save your fucking money and you do what you need to do to change what's going on. $1.2 million, ladies and gentlemen. $1.2 million. We're only on day 2 of this campaign. Watch out for this. This is going to change the face of comic books. Skinfolk doesn't make us kinfolk. Absolutely. The tribalist asshats. Absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%. This is exactly what, I mean, again, he's said this for a long time. Sergeant Herb said, at the forefront of racism, i.e. promoting racism. Absolutely. It's something we've been seeing for a long time. And again, Eric doesn't fall into the same mindset that these people need him to be in. So this is how they justify it. They justify their racism because he's not part of the groupthink. He doesn't subscribe to the victim mentality. He's never been a victim. He's done nothing but build up his own brand to bring it all to the next level. He's done with modern comics. He said it time and again. I know he still reads some of it, but like, you change the game by not supporting them financially. I agree with him. And I'm guilty though. I'm guilty. I have absolutely bought some Marvel products, over the past, but it was mainly to see it was like some older characters that I really liked to see if the stories had changed. And quite honestly, it's not there. So I'm going to support someone who really, really, really wants to change storytelling and just turn it up on its head, So make sure you guys check out the Rippaverse. Make sure you guys check out his content. I believe his name is tagged down below in the description. Please do support the man. He's doing great things. Thank you again for everyone for hanging out and coming by. I really appreciate it. We're trying to get things moving on this channel. I'm trying to move it on to the next level and produce more content for you guys that you can watch at your leisure. This will be a show that's a little bit shorter than my other ones, and you can hopefully consume it on your ride to work or on your break or during your workday. I know some people are able to watch and listen during the workday, so I hope that's something we can do. But hey, don't worry, man. We are far from done with this news day. So we're having this, there's a really big debate going on, right? That we can't seem to. A few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, we had a lot of trouble understanding or being able to define what a woman is, and there was an exchange today, and I'm not sure exactly what it was in regards to, but Senator Josh Hawley and a Berkeley law professor by the name of Khiara Bridge had an interesting back and forth regarding really like what a woman is. There was also an exchange. Basically the exchange, what it came down to was the law professor was saying that Josh Hawley was being transphobic and was inciting violence with his language. And again, this is, there's a big debate to be had, or a big discussion. There's not a debate. There's a big discussion to be had surrounding trans people and all that. And that's not something I want to get into. My point of this segment is to point out that a Berkeley law professor is let me just play this clip for you, because it's really telling as to the direction we're going in as far as like academia goes. It's really telling, and it's scary. It's very scary. So please watch this, how this whole thing plays out.
Mr. Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy.
And that's the first thing, right? People with the capacity for pregnancy. this is where language, this is why they're trying to change language, and it's not good. Women have children. Yes, like I don't understand the disconnect of, like, even if you're a trans man, like, you're like biologically you're still a woman, and you have that capacity to have children. It is what it is. It's not, this argument that we're being violent or we're being transphobic in our language. It's like these people just, like, it's hard to wrap your head around. I understand that not all politicians are smart and they don't ask the best questions, but this whole thing just really blew my mind.
Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy.
See, and that's the semantics they play, right? Well, many don't have the capacity for cis women. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy, which they're saying they're born with the organs to have children, but are unable to have children. That doesn't make them not a woman. We all know this. The organs are there. They're meant to. And for as long as humans have been around, or mammals have been around, this has just been the truth. But they, like, again, it's a semantic game with them.
There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
But those are also called, they're also called women at the end of the day. It's okay if you want to identify as non-binary. It's okay if you want to be, if you're a trans man or trans woman. It doesn't matter. You're still, like, you were born as this, and that gives you the capacity to have to have a child. There's nothing wrong and violent about that. But crazy eyes. We do this. Here we go. Sorry.
Pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic.
It's not transphobic. It's not. Like, this is, again, at Trey 50, Daniel said it's weaponized language. Yes, absolutely. Beautifully put. This is how they get away with the stuff that they get away with. They claim that this is harmful and it's transphobic. So immediately there's nothing we can do, right? You label something transphobic and the normie immediately says that's awful and bad. No way. Hawley is transphobic. No, that's just absolutely not true. Just because you speak something into existence does not make it so.
And it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide.
Okay, that's fair, and that's awful, and nobody wants anyone to commit suicide, right? No one here wants that to happen. Can we go through the statistics of how many men do it? How many young girls? Like high school, college age girls that attempt suicide? Like, these are all big numbers. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it's a fair thing to point out. Like, I know it's high. I know that they're dealing with many different things at once, but god damn, like, and the thing is too, and the funny thing is too, and I think Trey just kind of said it, but language can enable violence. See how much it happened in 2020. So like that like, so you think of it from the other side. How many times did the Democrats stand up in front of their crowds and say, go out and do your worst, make them, like, what was it? What the hell is her name? That old bag. Fuck, what's her name? I can't think of it right now, but she was in front of a crowd of people. She was telling them to get out there in the streets, and like Rand Paul was attacked. Maxine Waters, that's who it was. People like her stood up in front of everyone and told them to actually go out and be violent, and those people did. 2020 was crazy. They burned cities to the ground. There's a newscast of a guy standing in front of a microphone. No shit. Everyone's seen this, and if you haven't seen it, you need to go look it up. a guy standing in front of a burning like department store going, these are mostly peaceful protests. What? There's a whole like department store on fire behind you. Mostly peaceful. Holy crap. Like that. We gotta listen to the rest of this because it's nuts. They kind of like go at each other. It's funny.
So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning.
Because
so we can't talk about it.
Because denying that trans people exist.
No one is denying it. What is this shit? Why do people do this? No one's denying anything. But there's something that people, they want to erase like what is actually going on. We can't actually say women. We can say men, but we couldn't possibly say women or say that women birth children. Like this is weird. This is coming from a Berkeley law professor. And what he says next is pretty great.
And pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies.
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get pregnant.
So you're denying?
No. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that you don't believe that men can get men as we know men in biology cannot get pregnant. Trans men can get pregnant. There's a huge difference. And again, this is the other thing that really pisses me off. They refuse to make the distinction between men and trans men. It drives me insane. And it's done. It must be done because they're trying to keep this as a wedge issue, right? They're trying to keep people divided on this. And there's absolutely no reason to do it. No reason.
That trans people exist.
And that leads to violence. Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this? Where
No,
they're told that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good time in my class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot.
See, and this is where the conversation breaks down because Hawley is exactly right here. Hawley is 100% right. Is this how you conduct yourself in your classroom? Because the problem is that if you cannot have the discussion of saying, okay, I disagree with what you're saying. I would like to, like, I disagree with, again, the semantic argument that men can get pregnant. Trans men can get pregnant. Right. So Trade 50 Days says they don't make the distinction because it's a way to hold over the head of conservatives. So this is why I say it's a wedge issue, because they want to always use it as a way to be divisive. They won't actually like do what they're supposed to do. They will just, they'll keep it controversial and they won't distinguish. And that's a problem. Codenomic says, if you want to say trans men can have children, I will say, okay, knowing that trans men have vaginas, but not men. Right. Again, make the distinction, make your arguments clear. They're intentionally being ambiguous here. And I can't figure out completely why. I just nuts, man. So nuts. This is the stuff. This is why like it's important to talk about these things. No one is denying the existence of trans people, even a little bit. At least that I've seen. No one's denying that. It's a rough one out there. And so there was another part of all this that there was another part of this that was equally as infuriating to watch, but I'll make sure. Yeah. And the crazy eyes are there. Like for those who can't see, you might be listening on another platform. The crazy eyes are there. They're there. And it's it's scary, man. They're all the same. They don't even try to be different. The Post Millennial posted this. Again, another exchange from Khiara Bridges.
And do you think a baby that is delivered alive has value?
Yes.
Well, that's a good start. A baby that's delivered alive has value. This is good. This is good. I like where this is going. I bet you I'm not going to like it for long.
Do you think that a baby that is not yet born has value?
I believe that a person with a capacity for pregnancy has value. They have intelligence. They have agency. They have
I'm talking about
dignity.
Yeah, right. I believe the person who is capable of having a pregnancy is has agency and is intelligent, and they should have control of their own bodies. Yeah. What? That's not what the question was.
Baby.
And I'm talking about the person with the capacity for pregnancy.
You're not.
God. What? We don't care what you're talking about. Answer the question that's at hand. Answer the question that's at hand. We don't care what your opinion on it. Well, we care what the opinion is, but we don't care about that. We're asking a question, answer the damn question. That's why all of these things are just a complete waste of time. All this is political theater. But I got to comment on it anyway because it makes me so mad.
Not answering the question. I'm asking.
I'm answering a more interesting question to me.
You think that the baby that
she's answering a more important question to her. Oh, okay, sweetheart. Go off.
is not yet born, let's say the day before this mother delivers.
Again, the day before the mother delivers, does this child have value? Wait for her answer.
Do you think that baby has value?
I think that the person with the capacity for pregnancy has value, and they should have the ability to control what happens to their lives.
Well,
imagine this, right? Imagine this. Funny scenario. You might think this is a little progressive. Imagine they had agency over their body before they got pregnant. Imagine Khiara Bridge from UC Berkeley as a law professor talk to her students about the importance and value of human life. This is the problem is they can't tell you when life actually begins because like to them it exists out like when it's outside the body, that's when life exists. Because if they actually believed it was a human life before, they wouldn't be talking like this. Like, sorry, they wouldn't. Good question from Codenomics. Why do they keep saying abortion is reproductive rights? If you want to be honest, abortion is anti-reproductive rights. They do it because it's a way of like dehumanizing the action of abortion. We all know, or the act of aborting a child is like killing and ending that life. If they say that it's reproductive rights, it's a lot harder to fight that, right? Everyone wants people to have reproductive rights. But you can't, it's not as easy to defend when you keep saying abortion, 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 or, or if you acknowledge that the life exists. Right. And imagine all the valuable human life murdered out of convenience, right? And this is the thing, right? Like no one likes the solution or talk about the option of abstinence or birth control and stuff like that. And they don't understand that it comes down to when you believe it is a human life. And most of them don't believe it's a human life until well after it's already been a human life. Mr. Drew over on Twitch says, even if you exclude calling it human, it is still a life. If it can be killed, it was alive. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you a quick little story. My younger child was born at 25 weeks, 2 days. Which if you have any idea how pregnancy works, you have 40 weeks, technically 38 weeks is full term. So my child was 13 weeks shy of that. So do the math, about 3.5 months or so. 3 months shy of of being fully cooked, and people have abortions at this moment. And this is the issue, is that like it's very, very much a life. Here's a question that I answered before, but no one else has heard my answer to this. It's still a question if all of you are against the death penalty. Again, so when I answered this originally, it was because the difference here is that you have there's two. Okay, let me see if I can break this down on the spot. I think that ending a life is bad. I would rather that someone spend the rest of their natural life behind bars, because it's if you do something so heinous that we have to decide whether or not to end your life, I think you should just rot in a jail cell, even though it's a big strain on the taxpayer. But here's the thing: humans, especially at that point, who are generally taking lives in very heinous ways, gave up their right to life, essentially, but they willingly participated in an action that put them where they were. Again, this comes down to where you believe life begins, because if you believe that life begins at conception, or at least very shortly thereafter, it is still a neutral third party that did no wrong. Now, how a child was conceived. Now, this is the contentious point, right? How a child is conceived has no bearing on the value of that life. Do I believe murder for a murder? No, I don't want people to be murdered. And I don't think it's funny. And I don't think that, again, I would rather people rot in a jail cell. But like when they consider the death penalty, it's generally for some really, really awful things that they have done to other people. Like when someone makes a conscious decision to go out and end another life, if a mother goes out or a father goes out and drowns their kids in their pool or in their bathtub or beats them and throws them under a bus, I would have a hard time not wanting them dead. As much as I value life, holy shit. Like, I do not talk about the death penalty lightly, but I think that there are absolutely instances where someone gives up their right to the rest of their life because of the awful things that they imposed on someone else, an innocent party who just wanted to live their own life. Like, that is something that's really, really like, but when, again, being someone who has spent time hovered over a small plastic isolette, praying to God that nothing happens to them. Nothing. No, I'm not deciding it. By the way, and this is the difference too. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. But here's the difference. I don't know. I don't know how much of a difference it is, but like, yes, a mother is deciding to end that, but like, it's not one person that gets to decide, okay, we're pulling the plug. A lengthy trial takes place. Evidence is given as to the intent behind the crime. It's several people. It's a jury of their peers that are put up there to make the decision, and they don't make it lightly either, I would say. It's not, the death penalty thing is I don't know many people who are like, yeah, let's throw the fucking switch on them. You are deciding your morals. That's why, and this is the difference between death penalty and an abortion. The death penalty is a mixture of several people's morals along with evidence, facts, all that stuff to be considered in order to put that person to death. Do I think it should be used all the time? Absolutely not. But what people are arguing is that one person's morals, the mother, remember, the dad doesn't get a choice in this. The dad doesn't get a choice in this. The mother only gets to decide whether or not they get to put a child to death. So one person's morals for an innocent party, a group of people, a giant group of people for the person who committed an awful act against an innocent third party. I don't know, man. It's not an easy question to answer by any means. But again, people are not, and this, again, the difference is people are not considered for death row for running over the neighbor's cat. You know, they're not put to death for running over the neighbor's cat. They're put on death row because they kidnapped an innocent child and did horrible things to them and left their body in a gutter for someone to find. I'm pro-choice too. I'm pro-choice of making the right decision before you get pregnant. That's the choice I think people should make. Personally, the choice needs to come well before the pregnancy. All this stuff stems. It's not a religious motivation for me. It is 100%. It is 100% a like living the experience of seeing a child like in a time where people actually, where people still have abortions. I don't get it, man. Like it's that any person who has half of a heart hears that heartbeat and is immediately attached to it. The people who can just willy-nilly like, oh shit, I made a bad choice. Bye, later. Oh, I just worry. Like the problem is when you make it out to be something that's like we need to use this as a contraceptive method. We need like, oh, I made a mistake, so I need to correct that mistake. And again, that like I don't believe on imposing, like I don't think it should, I'll be clear. I don't think that abortion should be outlawed. I think there are rare cases for it. And I think we do need to consider that. Even though they're small, I do think we need to consider it. As of right now, I don't believe there's any laws on the books that actually get the mother in trouble for an abortion. It's just the doctors. Like that's what they're like going after in these like very conservative states. And like, it's just important that like we got to place the value back on life again. And that is where I really think that you'll see a change. If we can place more value on life in the early stages, you will start to see a shift of people just protecting themselves. And here's the thing. And because if you're able to do that, and this is my opinion, if you're able to do that and give people and have people understand the value of life, even if something does happen early, like 17, 18, 19 years old, they'll be more likely to hold on to that life and either put it up for adoption, or they'll be in a position where you know what, I will raise this child how I can because it is still alive. But that's the thing. I don't know. Like you said, I don't think a child should be made to grow up in a world without the support it should get. I don't know how, like, I think that's something that people say. But I think more often than not, they are getting the support they need. Again, whether it be foster care or whether it's, again, and this is, again, my hypothetical is if you're able to give people, like, people understand the value of life, they will take care of that life. But you shouldn't end a life because it's inconvenient. Like, what about, again, when you terminate the life, you terminate the life just because you can't see it or you don't know like where it may be. You're going to make an assumption like, oh, he was so the child, you can't make the assumption that just because the child was conceived a certain way or was conceived a little earlier than you would like, that is somehow a disadvantage to it. You could make it so, I guess, if that's how you're thinking, but there's a lot of social safety nets that can actually, you can maneuver around that. So again, they're not perfect, and I don't advocate for like supporting the state, but like I have been saved by some state programs. like WIC and food stamps and stuff like that. Let's make sure I follow up. That's incorrect in my opinion. A lot of people say they can't be ready for pregnancy, and I think that's wrong. You can be mentally ready for pregnancy. Well, yeah, absolutely. And again, my hypothetical isn't the solution for right now, and it wouldn't be how like something is now. My solution is to again place value back in life, in human life again, and you will start to see people understand that they can't, like, there will be support. You will have a stronger family unit. It's really, people don't like this answer because it's not something that you can like write into law. Like, people want a solution that like they can write into law and it would just happen. It isn't going to happen. If you want things to turn around, you have to promote a strong family bond. You have to value human life at all stages, because it still is. You know, like, you can make really great choices prior to pregnancy, and that's like there are zero things wrong with asking people to consider the problems or the consequences of their action beforehand. Yeah, no, I agree. So don't get me wrong. The state is the actual problem enabling single mothers, in my opinion. Yes. So it does. They reward having multiple children. Again, these are social. These are safety nets. These are not things that you should be living on or depending on to make your life better. They won't make your life better. They're going to make you dependent on the state. It doesn't make no, and I understand. Like, you can say whatever you want as far as the actual act of conception. It doesn't change the value of the life. Okay, like, again, I don't, and I'll be clear. Let me be clear to people. I don't care how people live their lives. I really don't. If you want to have an abortion every week because of the fucking hussy that you are, that's great, and you should have all the abortions you want. I will, but I'm not. That is not what I think is going to make this world better. If you want a good, loving society, you will not be pushing for stuff like that. Live your life how you want. I will not advocate for that. How a child was conceived does not say anything to the value of that child. That child could go on and have an amazing life. You can't, again, just like there's so many things that you have to take into consideration too. There's plenty of people out there who were adopted because of they were conceived by rape or whatever, or the R word. Shit. And they go on to live good lives, and they're successful, and they're great people. Again, the same thing here. There's again, the inconvenience is not the child's fault, and the child shouldn't be punished. If something like that, a person used condom, birth control, was in the shower standing up, they still got pregnant. I don't know, man. It's one of those things where, like, people got to decide on their own. I don't think it's fair to the child to end their life because it might be inconvenient for you. The circumstances of conception, I don't make the value of the life any less. And I'm sorry if people don't like that, but I've witnessed a child born so early. He fit in the palm of my hand. He was 2 pounds. Like, not a religious person, and I prayed so many times that he was okay and would be okay, because, like, his lungs aren't even fully developed, his eyes aren't fully developed, and people still think that it's that at 20 plus weeks that it's acceptable to have to get rid of a child, to dismember the child through the birth canal. It's just awful. It's awful. And like people make excuses like, oh, it's not the heartbeat. Like it's just it's an electro pulse or magnetic pulse. And I'm just like, what? Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why people, I don't understand why people think that. Would like to keep chat civil, please. Let's keep chat civil the best we can. But it's a hard thing to discuss, and it's still an important issue to me because I think people, I just think I think the big problem that we're seeing nowadays is that the value that's placed on life, especially that of the unborn, is much less than, I think that talking about the death penalty and talking about the abortion are very, very different. Well, there's nothing wrong with having different opinions, like there's nothing to come to terms with necessarily. It's just like you and I, like we just have different like ways of looking at this. And I think, again, I don't care how you live your life. I don't care how any of your friends do. I believe a certain thing. I've witnessed certain things in my life that made me believe that life begins way, way before any of this. And that really has an influence over like my opinion on abortions, Birdman 287 over on Twitch says, "Hey Shags, is it true you're the cure to wokeism?" I think so, buddy. I think so. We're here to do hydrate. You got it, brother. You got it. Sorry, I don't see my things. Never got to see an ultrasound myself, but I want to be a dad in the future, so I guess I'm biased to this stuff. Yeah, listen, it's a hard thing to. It's a hard thing. This is why it's not like the discussion is important and understanding one's beliefs and stances. I don't like because Aurora and I are different on this particular issue doesn't mean I respect her any less as a human. It's just how it goes. I know her in many other capacities, and I know that her and I do see eye to eye on other things, and that's what's important. The ability to discuss the things and have the back and forth is fine. It needs to be done. But people are going to be passionate on either side. We all need to be able to give our opinions, state our opinions, and it's going to get heated both ways. Everyone gets. I mean, these things are obviously vitriolic in nature sometimes, or they've been made to be so, unfortunately. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say do something else here. It's crazy eye lady, man. Holy crap. I did see this, and I did want to comment on it. I don't really know 100% where I stand on this. I know where some people in this community stand, but there's a thing that someone put out. I saw that Uvalde was trending again. Uvalde video shows one of the cops who is cowering behind a wall. Check his phone, and it has Punisher thin blue line background. So I know that some of you are not a fan of the police. My mom was a state police officer for 22 years, and she is like the most courageous woman I know. She's a great person. A lot of her friends who are on the force are great people. I know that there has been some really awful people in the police force. I don't understand. Again, I don't agree with the timing and how things really went with Uvalde with the stuff that I know. I don't have every single detail. I do believe that this just seems like
because I saw a freaking, like, is that the Punisher thin blue line background? What is it like? We don't know what this guy is doing. He could be just checking the time. He could be waiting to hear from someone. Is he looking at Pornhub, or what is he? I don't know. I think that people, what I have a problem with is that people are trying to stir up trouble when it probably doesn't need to be. A clearer shot. I don't know if that's a clearer shot. This could very well be manipulated in some way. Like, this picture could be added in. Who knows? Like, this doesn't look very clear to me. Could be just about anything. Could just be a regular skull. Doesn't need to be Punisher, though it does kind of look like a Punisher. Am I for the? I mean, and that's the thing. Like, right there. No, and that's the thing. There's probably a lot of info that's been missing from all this. The little bit I've heard, you know, they want to like bulldoze the school like they did in Connecticut. I just think that it's not a good. I just think it's not a good thing. And this is the kind of stuff, like, it's okay to not support the police necessarily. I just don't think that this is the way to go about it. I do respect ANCAP doing his thing with the police and, you know, filming them and making sure, you know, trying to keep them in line and making sure that they're being on the up and up. I know that he's had some bad run-ins with them. Again, there's bad people out there, and we really do need to be conscious of that and rip out the roots where we can. Like I said, my mom was a cop for 22 years, and so many of the people she worked with were just nice, good people trying to help out their communities for the most part. I'm not a fan of cowards, whether they wear a badge or not. It's irrelevant. No, I mean, I think you do this job because you genuinely want to help people. I don't necessarily think that. Like, I think the majority of the people who take on this job and responsibility are good people who are courageous, and they want to step in the line of fire. To protect people. I think a lot of the people who join genuinely want to do that. I think there's people who are cowards who just wear the badge to protect themselves and to essentially carry a gun and wield their power. But I think most of those people who are like wielding their power are just like cowards anyway, and they need to hide behind their gun, and they don't really I don't think they ever would really have the strength or the balls to pull the trigger. ANCAP. Oh, ANCAP's got something spicy. My family was cops is a non-argument, sir. If they were good cops, they would be aggressively uprooting the bad ones, yet they are not. This makes them guilty by association. Well, I can't really speak fully to what my mom did. I can't really tell what my mom did because I was young. I know that my mom had run-ins with bad cops, and I know that she reported them when she needed to. The thing is like most people, I think like most people, like when they're doing their job like this, much like the people on the internet, like not everyone is out to know everything as much as we do, or myself is, like most people are just there to do their job and do the job. I don't think that they're like there's internal affairs that they could, they can be a part of. But no, and I agree. I think police unions are toxic, just like teachers unions suck. I think it's really important that it needs to be changed. Huge overhaul. The only person I can speak for is my mother. My mother was a genuinely good person and did a lot of good stuff for our community. And I will not tolerate disrespect from my mother. But no, it also depends largely on what your former experience with certain people are, because it's that totally shapes how it goes. It is. Whew, it's quite the day. I'm really proud of a lot of things that have been going on, in the community, and a lot of people just doing great things. There's so much good that's actually coming out of a lot of these the community that I've come to be a part of, or at least adjacent to, and no, I know ANCAP's a great supporter. He's always awesome. I know. I know ANCAP. A person's line of work does not make them good or bad. It is entirely their choices and actions that make them so. I agree. I would agree that, I mean, just because you work for a nonprofit, housing poor people, doesn't make you a good person. If you're taking those poor people in and chopping their heads off, well, that makes you a bad person, right? I think we can all agree on that. Yeah, luckily that wasn't the case. It's, there was one, I don't know, bearded mama's boy. Hell yeah, man. Love your mama. Love your mom. Love your parents, man. They sacrifice a lot to make the good person that all of you are. You know, there are a lot of good people in this community. That escalated quickly, I know. Oh, man. My mom's a great person. Oh, I didn't like my mom for a long time, but I certainly loved her. And I remember exactly how old I was when I finally thanked her for all all the things that she ever did. I was 22 years old. No, 23. It was right before I had decided to move to Hawaii. We were all standing around at home or standing around a bonfire. And I said, Mom, thank you for everything that you've ever done. And, being hard on me growing up, because it made me a good person, and it made me think. It's unfortunate it took me so long to realize, and I still made mistakes after that, but she's a wonderful woman. She's a very hardworking person. She married a great man that was a father to me. And it was truly special. So now I know that not everyone has that. Not everyone has the fortunate chance to have such a great person in their life. I understand that, but I know we all have someone that we do look up to, even if it's not mom and dad or necessarily biological. But I know all of you look up to someone who is a really great person, and you've emulated their behavior or taken on some of their habits in order to better yourself. Those are the people you need to thank, and just remind them of the good things that they've taught you, because it will help. I'm sure that they've inspired more people, but they need to know. Those people need to know. But part of what makes people good is the hardships they endure before. And it's never fun to endure those hardships while you're taking it in. But I think it's important that we do. You'll be stronger for it. I promise. I promise. There's one other thing. Yo, Tron is 40 years old. I saw that, man. I saw that Tron was 40 years old. Don't do that to me. God, there was something I was going to bring up. Oh, so I saw this today. One of my favorite people on the internet posted this. James Lindsay. U.S. Army will require that women shower with men and men shower with women. I can't. What could possibly go wrong here? And yet another sign that the inmates are running the asylum, called the Biden administration. The U.S. Army training documents say that women must shower with men and men must shower with women in the name of transgender rights. Of course, if a mentally ill, well, that's not really, I don't really appreciate that, but then she can shower with the boys. I don't know, man. I think this is not the best idea. I don't think this is the best idea. Especially when you have, now they've been rare, but the cases of people just self-identifying as one or the other, they've gotten people pregnant in prisons. Man. It can't be a good thing. I just don't see the goodness that comes from here. I don't. It's, I don't know. Women on a submarine. Yeah. I can see the men. Yeah. Well, these things aren't as, these situations aren't as simple as just being like, okay, let it happen. Like, cause you're doing an experiment with people who probably don't want to be a part of that experiment, But I don't know. I'm just a man with opinions, and I don't. And so, okay, here is where, if they mean that, like, again, it's the self-identifying, that I think is the real issue, right? The self-identifying person is the issue because they haven't been like cleared by a doctor. And I think that's the issue, that if someone's just self-identifying as something, it'll have, but if someone who has, been to a doctor, who's been going through hormone therapy for years, if they're getting the pass from a doctor and they're attempting to present as one or the other, it's probably less of an issue. If they're actually just mixing in men and women to take showers with one another, I think that's a huge issue. And I can't really tell from this if that's what they're doing, but I don't know. Just read Michael Moore's proposed 28th Amendment. I will be done laughing in a couple hours. Hold on. Can I find like the spark notes of it? That's all I'm going to say on Aurora, but I think I'm allowed to have an opinion on it, but that's all I'm going to say on it. Michael Moore's 28th opinion to repeal. Oh, I'll have to read this another time and then comment on it. It's Michael Moore. Michael Moore is quite the guy. See, I don't generally like commenting on stuff with like, well, I have my opinions on certain things, but the reason I cut my spiel short was because I don't have all the information, but with the information I have, I was able to draw a conclusion, which I think is fair. But if I'm not allowed to have an opinion, that's fine as well. But on to the next. I don't even have anything next. This has been pretty much got through everything I wanted to cover tonight. Why is it that older Michael Moore gets, the more he looks like my crazy cat lady aunt? I was thinking the same thing the other day when I was, I forget who else I was looking at, but Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler looks like a crazy housewife of LA. Like, the older he gets, the more he looks like an aunt who just drinks too much wine. Who's had too many glasses of Chardonnay before noon. I don't care who wants to join the military. Like, if people want to lay down their lives in the military, they should be allowed to do it. 100%. I just think that I think part of the military, and this is me speaking without any military experience, but I find that, like, the hard part about being I mean, there's some rigor to the military, like something that's not good would be having like a breakdown in the chain of command, right? Like if like you need to have you need obedient people who are going to go and listen to orders, because they're I don't know. I just think I think it's important that the military has structure. Again, I'm speaking as someone who doesn't have military service, but like, I mean, I've spent time doing a lot of I've been in companies where like when you have people like who are constantly in dissent with the powers that be, it's not productive, right? I think it's important that you have like some hardline people, some people who are able to to follow orders when they need to not be like emotionally compromised. It goes for any orientation or identity, right? Like any. I don't know, but again, there's times, I don't know. I had an argument recently with someone who wasn't allowing certain opinions to come through. But hey man, I mean when I talk about these things, I'm definitely not above being questioned on certain things. Like my goal is to like work through a lot of this stuff and understand it a little bit better. It's hard, it's a difficult thing to do and navigate. But I think part of the struggle that we're seeing in the world is that people aren't giving it the time. Doesn't matter what side you're on. People are making assumptions. They're not allowing the conversation to happen. And as soon as the conversation starts to happen, people will try and shut it down, or they'll kick and scream, or anything in between. And it's just like my choice to believe something, like whether it's to put value on life, whether it's, to believe that men and women should shower together, like all of this stuff means something to me. Like I can advocate for this stuff on my level. I believe the government should be out of just about everyone's life when it comes to this stuff. The state that I live in should be able to decide it just fine. I think for the most part, like we're being fed one side of it and we're not allowed to speak out against it. I don't care how people live their lives. I'm not above being questioned on something. It's unfair to say to someone, you're not allowed to have an opinion on it because of XYZ, or because you might not know. It's like, well, I'm just trying to know. So if you want me to know, you can speak respectfully with me on it. Like again, I've had these conversations with many people. This is not at all directed at any single person. This is directed at majority of people, because people I know on the right are shitty at this, and people on the left I know are shitty at this. It's weird. Codenomics. Both sides of the aisle are dumb in my book. Everything has gone tits up. Just sitting back and sipping a good stout and watching the world burn. Everything's fine. Yeah. You want to debate? I have so many counter arguments on many things, not because I believe in them, just because I like to look at both sides. No, I'm the same way. I don't want to have a debate tonight. That's not the point of this necessarily. Like I've done the same thing in my life, as I've always tried to like do the devil's advocate thing on a lot of stuff. It's pissed a lot of people off. And I was the same. Rocks, like seriously, to cause argumentative chaos. Literally the same thing. I used to do it to my friend all the time, and it would just get him so fuming mad, like so fuming mad. It was pretty funny to watch. but again, I respect people with different opinions. I don't care what you believe. I don't care what you believe or how you live your life. If you treat people well and you give people respect, that's fine. That's good for me. Like, your actions will dictate your personality way better than your words. Again, that's just me. Your actions will dictate that. You could, and I could say all I want. I could say as much as I want. You guys could believe me or not. I'm trying to do my part and my thing in this world. I don't need anyone else's validation. I think what I'm doing is good. I think talking is good. My words aren't violence. My words don't harm anyone. They don't cause anyone to cause harm. So to that end, I can say what I want. I'm not doing anything wrong. Again, if people can't deal with it or whatever, my DMs are always open. People are welcome to message me, whatever people have done in the past. That's cool. I'm sorry that your hand is full of spikes, Codenomics. I apologize for that. Everyone can have an opinion. The weight of the opinion will change based on whom hears it. My only hope is that it's just honest dialogue becomes more acceptable. Exactly. And we had that tonight. The exchange between different parties, it needs to be, if someone's going to say one thing, the other person needs to hear it just as much. Like, there needs to be the give and take on discussions. And the thing is you have to realize it's not always going to be respectful. We do need to strive for being respectful in these discussions, but it's not always going to come out as respectful, and we might not always take it as respectful. And the problem too with the typed word is that you add your own inflection into these sentences. Like like, I could type something out and you could read it in a particular way, but that's not how I meant it. The challenge I'm having, and I do want to eventually get a segment where we can like bring people on, like for one day out of the week, or like 1 or 2 days out of the month, and have like open discussions where people of like maybe various backgrounds can go back and forth. Like, even then, like, even if someone says something insulting, you can't automatically default to like ad hominem or whatever. We need to be able to, again, like, be able to step back and give that person like another chance. Like, okay, I heard you say this, but I think maybe you could reword it so it doesn't have this in it, well, yeah. But again, it doesn't necessarily need to stay respectful. You need to be able to hear one another. I mean, I certainly want respect to remain the best it can, but yeah. It's just a really important part of it all. Yeah, man. Like I said, this is all, I have a lot of stuff like brewing. I have a lot of stuff brewing in my brain and stuff that I'm starting to get down on paper. And much like our friend, Eric July, there's plans that I have for some time in the future when we can expand a little bit more and bring more people in the fold. And I can, sort of sift through how I want things to go, because there's a lot of moving parts, and the stuff that I have going now is about as much as I can handle. So objective listening is a skill that people don't have these days. Yeah, so objective listening, but also active listening. And the other thing that's really hard, with things nowadays is active listening. Not objective listening, but active listening. So hearing what people say, and also keeping things like sort of short and sweet. People nowadays, because of, and I think a lot of this has to do with like the advent of podcast or the long format podcast, that people will talk at length on a certain subject matter, and they will so they'll, if you're talking with a couple of people, someone will say something, and then someone will get on sort of their diatribe. They'll get on their soapbox and start talking at length on a particular thing, and they'll talk and they'll talk and they'll talk, and they'll forget to pause and allow people to hear like a small portion of their argument, and then that person respond to 1 or 2 things that was said. So that is really, it's something that I struggle with a lot of times too. Oh God, you must work in the corporate world. I do, but still active listening is still an important skill to have. Yes, active listeners are super rare. I do believe they are super rare. So this is Art of the Roll over on Twitch, saying active listeners is super rare. It is. So yeah, that's a really hard part about talking nowadays is people want to be heard. They want to be heard and they want to speak about every single thing that they have to say, and they won't stop in order for the person to respond to a certain thing. Because most people can't take in like 5 or 6 points at once. They have to take in 1 or 2, be able to respond to that, and back and forth. And that honestly is a way more productive conversation. Like if you can get out 1 or 2 points, allow the person to respond, and then, back and forth. And also like the speaker listener methods of communication. So yeah. Art of the Roll says, and I hate people who just do a stream of consciousness without organizing their thoughts. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because, again, the thing is, we all want to be heard. With the advent of the long form podcast, people understand that, like, we all want this like giant breadth of knowledge, and we can get it just about anywhere. So people want to be that voice, myself included. I want people to listen to what I have to say. I think what I have to say is important. I think it's good, and I don't think it harms anyone. I think most of the things I say can help people in the long run. That's just what I think. So that's why I do what I do, because I think I can help someone. I think if someone were able to hear what I'm saying, it might benefit them. I mean, I do it for work constantly. Listening to office bureaucracy. Well, I mean, yeah, the bureaucracy of an office is annoying, and it can be, I mean, sometimes it's necessary to sort of keep people like in the box and keep them, like I said, you don't want dissension in the ranks, because it can really rip a place out from inside. Sometimes it can be necessary, but without a sufficient replacement, the power vacuum or the vacuum happens, and it can be way more harmful than good. Right. And everyone has the internet, everyone's an expert. I don't claim to be an expert in everything. I claim to be a normal person who has lived through many different experiences, and I think I can add to the conversation. I think that what I have to say makes sense. And I think, again, if you take in what I'm saying and understand that I come from a good place, you can essentially better your life. I don't think there's enough people speaking out. Again, I want more people to start speaking out. If that means 30 more people tomorrow start a podcast and are more successful than me, great. I really hope so. I really do. I really do. I do want to thank everyone for coming tonight, both on Twitch and on YouTube. I really, really do thank you for the discussion. I thank you for all the asides that we had, all the discussions. It's not easy navigating this space. It's difficult. It's something that's going to take time. It's going to take effort on everyone's part to understand what our part is to play in all of this, where we stand. Some people's minds will be changed back and forth and again, but we need to understand our values. I think one of the biggest takeaways tonight is just understanding like the value of human life. Like when does all this start? When does our life begin? And I think too, I think now more than ever, people need to understand the value of creating something on their own. We don't need these big giant companies to entertain us anymore. There's plenty of stories to be told that haven't been written yet. I consider Aurora a good friend of mine, and we had a discussion tonight. She came in and she disagreed with a lot of us, and that's fine. She's an amazing writer. She's got a great story that she's started writing, and I had the chance to read. We need more like young and like creative people out there writing something, putting out stories for us to get lost in again. We don't need these big companies to like to pander to all this woke nonsense and to these identity politics. Write your own good stories. Remember, like we have it within us. There's so many creative people out there. Go out there and do it. If you want to do it, do it. Don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone tell you different. Don't let anyone tell you that because of the color of your skin, because of how you identify, because of the race you are. None of that shit matters. Go out there. If it's good, people will consume it. They'll like it and love it. That's what matters. Be good at something. That's it for me tonight, guys. I love you. Thank you for enjoying for the show. Every Tuesday night, we are doing the late night roast with me, your host, the Shagsworth. Tomorrow night on this channel is episode 16 of the Midweek Hump. We have Mr. Bug from the Legion of Memers joining us. I cannot wait to talk some shit with him. I'm sure we'll go over some similar stuff that we did tonight. We'll get the group's opinion on everything. But the Midweek Hump starts at 9 p.m. Mountain Time every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you don't have that notification bell rung, make sure you hit it. All of our videos are uploaded usually around 10 or 12 during the day. They're usually clips. I need to get back into recording some regular stuff and commentary. That stuff's coming, I promise. I love y'all. Thank you so much for your time. We're out of here. Later.